Okay, welcome to another episode of our live interview with FSMOne. I'm very privileged this time around. I have our macro analyst from FSMOne, Ziyang. Welcome, Ziyang.
All right, thank you.
Today we're going to discuss something very, very interesting, even more epic than the trade war, which is the tech battle between Chinese and US tech company. Before that, let's take a step back. Ziyang, why don't you tell us a little bit about the background of the tech industry and how do you see this trade dispute becoming a tech dispute?
Oh, okay. The thing is that the US-China trade war, right, is gradually developing into some sort of a tech conflict between these two countries. Especially more recently, what happened was US actually imposed a bit of a export control against Huawei, and in fact they blacklisted a few other China companies to prevent this Huawei and other China tech companies from acquiring a lot of their sensitive, higher technology kind of components. They won't be able to exactly stop the growth of the Chinese tech company, but they will seriously hamstring their ability to grow. But that being said, right, I think it's time for us to take a closer look into this sector for these two countries and to really look at the trends of their internet sector as well as their technological sector.
Yeah, especially I remember just now you were talking to me about how China and US really developed their tech scene almost separately.
Yes.
And also today we're going to dive deeper into one segment of the tech sector, which is the internet space. And at the end, let's pit four internet giants, consumer internet giants that we all know and love, and talk about some of the merits and the disadvantages of these companies, right? And why don't you start with how is this the China internet space being developed in the past, say 20 odd years?
Okay, actually, if you think about it, right, in this world, there's actually existence of two kinds of internet. One that we are very familiar with, which is the global internet, that is pretty much developed by a lot of the US companies, and as well as the Chinese internet, which is actually segregated by their Great Firewall. The existence of this Great Firewall also means that a lot of what we think about the internet, right, is unreachable by these China citizens. The way they perceive internet and the way we perceive internet could be very different as well. But yet at the same time, there's a lot of similarity, especially with globalization, and tastes get a lot more homogenized because of that. If you're talking about the development of China from in their tech scene from last time till now, one thing is that they managed to actually leapfrog a lot of eras of technology. So they skip the television era, they skip the PC era, they go straight to the smartphone era,
right,
which is the current era right now.
Okay, and in that sense, are you saying that the Chinese say mobile tech space is actually more advanced than the US ones?
You won't say they're more advanced, but the thing is that because they straight away launched into a mobile system, they don't have to go through the whole processes of people slowly adapting towards it. Yeah, they just get launched straight into it.
Okay,
and as a result, I think one classic area that you can actually think about it is that their mobile payment system, right? I mean, you think about it. If China has always been the chaser in terms of technology up, but when it comes to mobile payment, right, they're actually the leader in the world.
Right.
Yeah, they have the highest penetration. About 30% of all their payment, right, is actually done through their mobile. Compared to the nearest, which is, for example, US, right, only less than 20%.
Right, okay. That's great. Why don't we talk a little bit about, before we go into specific companies, let's talk about some of the macro trends you are seeing right now in this internet space. Where do you think are some of the growth areas in the industry?
I think that's quite a good point, because when we talk about the internet sector, right, or the tech sector for particular, when you really want to invest into it, they are typically growth companies. So you really want to see what are the growth trend, their growth potential moving forward, maybe for the next 3 to 5 years, because that is where the value in this company comes from. So moving forward, what we are really looking at is a lot of trends. You probably have heard of a lot of big terms like cloud computing, big data, AI. So these are a few sectors that are really developing very well in the space. In fact, Singapore is actually quite a major player in that scene, development of this scene as well.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, you talk about the big data and AI and how some of these tech companies are becoming huge database for the world. And in particular, these 4 companies that we're going to talk about today. Let's have a little role playing, right?
Okay, sure.
Since you told me that you have been researching about the Chinese tech companies a lot. I think you have chosen 2 companies, Alibaba and Tencent.
Okay.
And for me, I'll represent the US tech side. I have chosen Alphabet, which is Google, and also Facebook on my side. So let's have a little bull and bear tournament. and you
Sounds
being
fun.
Representing the China tech, and I'll represent the US tech. So why don't we start with your thesis on, say, Alibaba first?
A lot of us should be quite familiar with these companies, right? This company is an e-commerce giant in China, operating 2 of the more prominent websites, which is Tmall and Taobao. In fact, it is actually really dominant in China. It accounts for about 50 to 60% of all online retail sales in China. But one important thing about Alibaba is that it's an ecosystem business. So as an ecosystem business, right, you just want to attract as many customers and as many merchants to your ecosystem or your platform as possible, and to sort of be able to get this positive network effect. So it's a bit like a shopping mall. Say for example, a shopping mall, right? If there is more stores, more clients, more customers, you'll want to go there and visit because there's a lot of different option and variety. But as a result of more people going in, right, more traffic going into those shopping mall, the merchants who want to capture these sales from these clients, right, will want to go in as well. So it becomes a self-reinforcing cycle whereby more customer, more merchants, more customers.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, makes sense. Okay, I can also argue that they are already so big in China. Where can we find the growth for this company?
Okay, but the thing is that Alibaba, they didn't just stop there. They actually look at other places whereby they have definitely room for growth. So one thing they've been stepping into would be the new retail, the new retail segment, which is actually essentially the online services segment.
Right.
Yeah, because nowadays China people are getting more used to buying online grocery, like online shopping, like things like grocery and food delivery.
Right.
So for example, the second biggest food delivery app service in China, right, which is called Ele.me, is actually Alibaba.
Alibaba, yeah. Okay.
Yes, correct.
That's a good segue because you talk about Ele.me is owned by Alibaba, but
Correct.
I can also argue, in a way, in every segment that they have, say in e-commerce or e-services.
Correct.
E-commerce now, we have seen the emergence of JD.com and also Pinduoduo.
Exactly.
Right? Pinduoduo is only less than 5 or 6 years old,
Correct.
and yet they have made such a big splash into the market. So do you think that even though Alibaba has such a dominant position in the market, their moat is really not as strong as we once thought? Because why would such a newcomer come in and take such a big market share away from them? Do you see that as a risk?
Okay, yes, there is definitely a risk because the moment they enter this market, people realize the lucrative growth potential of the market. Naturally, every competitor wants a slice of that cake. So that's why with the likes you see JD coming in to snatch a part of their e-commerce business, Pinduoduo, etc. And Pinduoduo itself is actually backed by one of their rival, which is Tencent.
Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, majority of for these 2 companies, Alibaba and Tencent, right, for every segment that they have, they actually actively compete with each other.
Right.
Yeah, and one thing is that you must understand that Alibaba, right, because of they are able to generate a lot of positive cash flow, and so they are very cash rich, and they start to actually invest into the startup scene. Yeah, they're actually a major investor. Say for example, both Alibaba and Tencent, right? They are the biggest, one of the biggest investors in this next gen technology.
Right. Okay,
yeah, people who are looking to disrupt them. Instead, what they do is they just purchase them outright. I mean, in a way, we can draw parallel to US, right? You think about Facebook. So previously, Facebook, it just has its standalone Facebook app.
Yeah.
But back a few years ago, what they did was it bought over WhatsApp
Mm.
and it bought over Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Okay. I guess I can see how they can still continue to grow
Correct.
through M&A. Let's split now to Tencent as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit? I think Tencent is a very interesting company with a long history and an interesting history. Why don't you share a little bit about the history of Tencent and why you like the company?
Tencent is actually really a very interesting company. In fact, it's so prominent that majority of the indexes or ETFs, right, you will see when it comes to China, Tencent will definitely be in the top 3 holdings. Mm-hmm. Right, and it being listed in Hong Kong. The interesting part about Tencent is that it is like an ecosystem for all kinds of internet services, and this is enabled by one key app. This app there, whereby which is WeChat. Right, WeChat is equivalent to the WhatsApp of China. And everyone in China cannot do without WeChat. It's impossible to live in China without WeChat right now.
At least in the city.
In the city, yeah, correct. Because WeChat being so integral to the everyday of a Chinese citizen, right, it becomes a gateway into the entire ecosystem of Tencent. And as a result, because of that, because you using the app is as a gateway, you'll start to start to cross-sell you other of its products.
Right.
And then once you get engaged to 2 or 3 of its product within the system, you are essentially locked into the ecosystem. It's difficult for you to switch out, or even if you want to switch out, there's high switching costs involved.
Right, okay. You talk about that, but when I look at its annual report, a big part of its revenue is still coming from its traditional gaming business, right? It started out as a gaming company that really took the company to where it is today. Yeah. But you can see that the Chinese government is trying to start controlling gaming, given that China is a one-child policy. If everyone is just addicted to game, that's not very good for the society.
Societal problems.
Right? And do you see that as a big risk to them if the Chinese government started clamping down on game release? We've seen it on a temporary game release restriction last year, which have a huge dampen their growth. Impact, right? So do you see that their gaming revenue under threat in the future?
Okay, I think you've brought up a fairly good point about Tencent, especially the gaming segment. Tencent started out as a gaming company. In fact, it is the biggest gaming company in the world right now. But the thing is that over the years, right, gaming actually as a percentage of its total revenue, it has been decreasing steadily. So back about 5 to 6 years ago, you'll be probably around 50 to 60%. Right now, it's only accounting for about 30 to 40%. And moving forward, other segments of its business is actually providing more revenue to the company, which actually shows that this company is able to diversify away from the risk of gaming. But I digress a little bit. Let's focus on the gaming segment itself. So the gaming segment itself, right? Yes, they have been quite hit last year, precisely because of a lot of negative societal impact. So what they did after that was to comply with the government. What they did was they imposed some kind of playtime restriction. So anyone who is below the age of 18 can only play 2 hours a day, and anyone who is below the age of 12 can only play 1 hour a day. The worry last year was that it would dampen its earnings growth.
Right.
But then you think about it, right? Anyone from 12 to 18 years old probably wouldn't have that much of a disposable income to spend on games.
Right. Okay.
So as a result, majority of its earnings, right, the gaming earnings actually generate from the much older people, adult gamers who are actually very used to spending.
Right. Okay.
And also at the same time they have a higher amount of disposable income.
Okay.
So some estimates put it around 80% of its gaming income actually come from people who's 18 and above.
Right. Okay.
So yes, I mean it's the news about it being the government clamping down its gaming, right, is quite prominent.
Right.
But yet at the same time you do not actually really see a very huge translation in that.
Right, in monetary value.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. You talk about their dominance in their social media app, WeChat, right?
Correct.
Of course, we cannot access Facebook, cannot access WhatsApp if you're in China.
Correct.
But that doesn't mean that there's no competition to WeChat, right? There's a multitude of competition for WeChat, and we've seen it especially now with the emergence of new style of social media in China. We have the Douyin, which is TikTok here, right? And it is extremely popular, especially among teens and younger people.
Yes.
Even here in Southeast Asia, it's very popular. I also tried downloading it, but I couldn't last on the platform for 1 week because I feel just too old on it. But do you see all these newcomer coming in being a big disruption to WeChat? How do we know that they will continue to be a dominant social platform?
Okay, I think this is also quite an interesting point. WeChat being the de facto king in terms of social media in China, right, has definitely, this is one thing that one pie that everyone wants their hands on. But over the years, we have seen a lot. In fact, not just Douyin. There's also this another app more recently that came out, which is called a sort of a bullet messaging.
Yep.
But the thing is that until now, they are only able to get a bit of following, but unable to generate sizable critical mass, right, to actually truly challenges WeChat.
Yep.
And one of the biggest thing that was blocking WeChat from competition, right, like what you said, the government actually actively restricted its gaming. But while the government takes away, the government gives as well. So what happened was how WeChat managed to become as dominant as it is was the government actively, because of the Great China War, Fire War, it blocked out active competition,
right,
which is like WhatsApp was not able to. That gave WeChat a lot of space to grow. And what I think personally, this is of my personal opinion, the government wants to protect WeChat to be the official channel messaging app for its citizens.
Right.
In fact, moving in more recent time, we have been seeing that the government has been integrating government services, government tech within WeChat.
Right.
And one scary part, a bit scary for WeChat is that you have to verify your account. So it's sort of verified with their national ID.
Right, your digital IC.
Yeah, digital IC, correct. And in fact, there is some form of a social credit scoring.
Right.
Just so within WeChat itself, you can't really post very bad stuff. It will affect your credit rating.
Okay. So in the grand scheme of things, I think the government rather work with one giant company that you can control rather than 1,000 small players.
Correct.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, you have convinced me. I think I will be buying Tencent and Alibaba. Okay, why don't we talk a little bit about the US tech also?
Okay.
I think just because there's huge potential for the Chinese tech company like Alibaba and Tencent doesn't mean at the detriment of US techs.
Exactly.
I think both can coexist and both can actually grow, just given that so much of the world can be improved in terms of efficiency when there's more tech involved.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I personally want to share with you guys Alphabet, which is Google, and also Facebook.
Okay.
Right. My idea is very simple. I think Alphabet is already a very, very dominant player, especially in our side of the world and in the whole Western world. I myself live my entire life on Google, right? And so when I visit China, I was really almost without internet for a while. But Google has all the services that almost every single thing that we want to do online, except for social media. We have a Google equivalent product.
Yes.
And they have been the dominant one in each of these space. And from there, they are able to, of course, monetize all this data, my data and yours data, into ads. Where they monetize it. And we see it very, very strongly on their search, and also now more and more we can see the power of YouTube.
Exactly.
I think, right?
Yeah.
So I think these are some of their core modes that is very hard to be competed away. And from that, they have actually used all these funds to start investing into new companies, similar to how Alibaba and Tencent is, which is why they changed their name into Alphabet, with core importance into going into investing into the new technology in the future as well. So I really see that they can be still continue to grow for a very, very long time to come.
I mean, you raised a few points, but you were talking about their new business segments. Undeniably, a lot of us uses their product, like Google Maps, Gmail, etc. In fact, Google search is really quite dominant. Right now, there has been a lot of challenges from, let's say, Yahoo and Bing, even Microsoft coming up with their Bing to challenge them. But right now, for many years, they are unable to dethrone Google as the search engine. Right? But what are the new emerging technology that you're seeing from Google, right, that really can can sit together with Google search to be so dominant?
Right. I think a big part of it we have seen is actually on the Android operating system, right? In the past, all our PC are on Windows or Mac, but Windows really missed out on the boat on the mobile operating system. And we can see now most of the operating system on mobile are on Android based. And with the ban in Huawei, we can see how big of an influence Google really have. And Huawei, even though they say they want to come up with their own OS, but they also declare, sort of admitted that without the help of the US tech company, their profit next year will be 30 billion less. Right? So you can see the huge power that all these companies have, especially Google. And having the stronghold on handset operating system is much more powerful than having an operating system on a Windows machine. Because in our phone, the only way for us to access new program or download new program is through their App Store, right, and the Play Store. And from there, they actually earn a cut for every purchase that we do it from within the App Store. But for Windows, right, if we want to download a new program, we actually don't have to go through Microsoft, and Microsoft doesn't take a cut from it. So you can see that as the emergence of smartphone become more dominant and more people use it, more and more people are comfortable with spending money on it, all these transactions will have to go through Google one way and another. Right?
Or they will be able to get a lot from just staying there and collecting sort of like a toll.
Exactly. And we've seen that they are not just stopping; they're also going now into gaming with Google Stadia. Right, of course, Google has not predominantly been in the gaming space before. Mainly it's still dominated by Microsoft and of course Sony. But so far from the review and everything, Stadia seems to be having some strong potential, and I wouldn't rule them out. And if they are able to take a pie of this gaming space, it's definitely a growth factor for them as well.
More and more players actually moving towards mobile gaming. And then, but the problem with the mobile gaming is that it's always being limited by its hardware capability. You cannot play a lot of high HD games because of that. Mobile Stadia is sort of like solution to that pain point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is really an interesting segment that I think I'm also quite positive on that, driving the growth for Google. But if you think about Google, right, you have seen it has its own pitfalls as well. In fact, it has its own quite prominent failures, which is, I'm not sure whether you guys are familiar with this product called Google Plus, which is their challenge of Facebook. But eventually Google had to concede and just scrape it off and say that even their own people are not using it as well. That brings me another question. It's sort of like a segue into Facebook. The prominent failure of Google to develop a social media to challenge Facebook, right? A social network, sort of like a whole testament to how Facebook is so dominant in the social media space. Even a tech giant that put in all their effort to challenge could not dethrone Facebook. So maybe we can talk about what are the good points about Facebook.
Maybe just as a disclosure, I do own Facebook, so I'm a bias, definitely. But if you look at Facebook, they are, you are right, they are the largest competitor to Google, even though they are not really in the same space. But they do compete for ads revenue. So for Facebook, they actually have a much stronger, compelling reason for advertisers to advertise through them. Because they have the user identity and also the user habits and their likes and dislikes. So it comes down that they have a much richer database compared to say Google, where it's mostly about what you're searching for right now. But rather through Facebook you can sell people things that they might not even know that they need yet, right? And Facebook has been able to grow throughout almost every single geographical market except China. And they have been very dominant, even in places where they're not dominant, right, through their acquisition of WhatsApp and now Instagram. We can see that they sort of is able to capture a new market, the younger generation, and also people who are mostly on messaging but not on the social media platform yet. So all this comes together to become part of their data set where they can really monetize it in the future. And we have seen that just last week they announced that they're going to go into cryptocurrency, which is their Libra coin. Of course, it's not being managed by them predominantly, but they're going to build services around that. And in my opinion, it will become the currency for every transaction that we do within the Facebook ecosystem. And so they are really kind of copying the roadmap of WeChat through WeChat Pay, right, for the world. That's going to be a huge market, just seeing how well it has done for WeChat.
Imagine you can transfer, let's say you share a meal and then you want to split bill, right? You'll be able to send to someone the money for the splitting of bill as easy as sending an emoji.
Yeah, exactly.
That really holds a lot of potential. But also at the same time, the interesting part would be the cryptocurrency, like you said, the recent development. But also on the negative side, right, there's also very prominent development for both Facebook and Google, which is the data privacy issue, and especially driven. I think the whole thing was initiated by what happened last year, which is the Cambridge Analytical kind of scandal. Maybe you'd like to talk more about the risk that maybe the government regulation can really hamstring these two companies.
Yeah, that's the top of the town right now. The government regulation on these tech giants, especially on Google and Facebook, given that so much of our data is with them. But if you really think about it, even if one day they become regulated, I don't think it's such a bad thing. I really see them becoming like our telco for the future. Right? In the past, when telecommunication first came out, it's not really regulated, and they can have many telecommunication companies, especially in the US, at least in the US. But then as they consolidated and this company become too big, they become a regulated form. But even under regulation, they can continue to grow just because the market is growing. So I think for Facebook and Google, even when the day it comes to some sort of regulation to control how they can monetize their database, I think they would still be able to grow just because of the huge value that they give their user. I read a lot about how Google is having so much data about us. I tried to find alternative for it, not using Google search, trying DuckDuckGo or other search engine. But I can assure you, most people would choose convenience over privacy. Certainly I did.
In fact, the ongoing joke in sort of the industry is that Google and Facebook probably know more about you than your family members or your significant other ever would.
I think so.
But also another interesting point about them being regulated is, I think it's more like a double-edged sword as well. So while it can hamper their growth, it also makes it such that, especially when too much regulation comes into play, right, that it actually increases the barrier of entry. So it sort of limit the kind of competition they will face, because any competitor who wants to come in for that huge lucrative slice of pie, right, have to consider the kind of a legal implication and legal cost they are ready to fight the government for.
Exactly. Which sort of is Facebook argument for it, right? They arguing that if they're hampered to grow or being split up as a company, what are the companies that can replace them? Right now, it's mostly the Chinese companies that can replace their services, and definitely if you're the US government, that's not what you want, right? That's not what you want.
Yes, true.
So that's a rough thesis for all these four companies. There's pros and cons for all of them. But if you haven't noticed, it can be very confusing and daunting if, say, you're just a retail investor looking at this tech space, right? So do you have some advice or actionable steps for retail investors who are just looking to, yes, I want to get exposure to this tech industry, but yet I might not have the time or the expertise in understanding all these tech companies and who are going to be the winners or losers? How should they go about investing in this space?
Okay, this makes sense, especially when it comes to Facebook and Google, Alibaba and Tencent. They are very similar, they are tech companies, but the thing is that within them itself, they have very specific kind of risk that is slightly different from each other. You talk about Facebook and Google facing all the legal implication, but other companies, say for example the smaller tech companies, right, they probably did not face that kind of implication. So it's a bit daunting. It takes a lot of time to really go and follow all these news development and then finally get a conclusion every single time. And then, so one thing I think we can sort of circumvent this problem, right, is to sort of invest in all of them.
Right.
Invest in the entire sector. But
okay, that makes
it
sense.
can be a bit costly.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, yeah, each share costs quite a bit right now already, because considering how fast and how big they have grew into. So one way you can do it is really just as a basket of stocks.
Right. Okay.
Which
How do we do that?
essentially is an ETF.
Right. Okay.
Exchange traded fund, which is a passive approach to following an entire sector. They have been becoming very popular in recent time. A lot of people are actually investing into tech-specific ETFs for both the China and the US side.
Okay. So if investor is looking to invest in the tech sector, which ETF should they be looking at?
For the US side, right, we have this Invesco QQQ, Invesco Tech ETF, which is listed on NYSE as QQQ. They has it's a portfolio of all the tech stocks, all your favorite tech stocks like Google, Alphabet, which is Facebook, Amazon, Apple, etc. And then and on the China side, right, you have another which is actually quite similar in terms of name, which is CQQQ. C and the three Qs. It's also an Invesco China Tech ETF that invests into all your favorite China tech companies like Alibaba, Tencent, Meituan, etc.
Okay, and when we invest in them, we'll straight away get a diversified portfolio. You will say?
Yeah, because the nature of ETF being a basket of stocks, and all of them they have more than 30 to 50 kind of stocks in the ETF. So they themselves provide sort of a more diversified approach compared to just a single company.
I remember that the China Tech Invesco ETF is actually part of your focus list ETF.
Correct.
So if you want to find out more about the ETF itself, or we'll provide the link down below to the FSMOne research page. And also, definitely if you are looking to trade some of these ETF or these stocks, you can definitely do them through FSMOne brokerage account. You can apply for it for free, and they actually have a 24 hours registration process for you, fully online. That's certainly very useful.
Yes, correct.
Do you have anything else that you want to share with the audience?
Okay, so if, for example, you are someone who is more interested in this segment and want to do more research, right? We actually have done a lot of groundwork for you and present it out into articles, investment ideas, which you can actually go into the FSM. We will provide the link later, and then through the link, right, you can actually look at a lot of those investment ideas that we can help you invest globally and profitably.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely very useful for us.
Sure.
Okay, that's it from us. And once again, thank you very much
to
FSMOne analyst Zhe Yang. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sally.